There.
We're not already live.
Oh, we are now. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Uncas.
Good morning, sir.
I see Mike Cabral's been in here. Ian came by. I've got a comment about him. Good morning, Carkey. Carol's with us. And Diana G. Good morning, Diana. Who brought the donuts? Mark's not been here lately when we've been talking a lot of donuts. I don't think. He might have early on.
No, didn't hear any donut talk.
Oh, well, Mike's been having.
Oh, Mike was going to bring donuts one day.
Well, just for Mike, I went out and got a couple of donuts just so I'd have some with him. But this morning, I have not gone out to get any donuts, Mike.
Well, you had to go get pizza last night, so.
Well, I did.
You don't want to go to town too often.
No, you don't, because you get in trouble in town. I got a note from Phil. I'm sorry. He told me last night that we talked a little bit about going out west and spending some time. And he said him and Dale were out hiking near his sister's house. They lived in Prescott.
Oh.
They live in Prescott, or the area, Chino Valley or something there.
The Chino Valley.
I think it's on the Mogollon Rim or up that way or something.
It's north of Prescott.
Yeah.
Up towards Sedona.
Anyway, he said they were out walking around one day and walked across the Cook mountain line den on the mesa. I don't know how long ago that's been. It's been a good while. Dale's actually gone. He passed away a few years ago. And anyway, he was saying, I asked him how he knew that. Were there cats there? And he said, none seen but lots of hair and large bones of unfortunate victims. He said Sis has had pumas and wildcats looking in the windows of her house.
Yeah, when I was working down there, I was always busy in that part of the world.
I bet you were. He didn't realize that. I told him you were.
Lots of kitty cats
back then.
Yep, there was tons of kitty cats in that part of the world.
Yeah, sure there are. Who else? If anybody else come in, Carol's back in or still in. Brenda, I think, is going to come on, but I'm not positive. I had to make a comment. Ian said that he hoped that we had a great Sunday morning chat, but he won't be on today. Go Merca. I think he's watching soccer, which I've told him was.
That ain't America.
Which I replied, oh no, Ian, have you succumbed to the devil that is soccer? He hasn't answered me. So I guess he's not looked back in. Pancakes. Didn't you get any donuts this morning? I ain't got pancakes or nothing, much less donuts. I had a banana a while ago. And coffee, lots of coffee. What was I going to say? I was going to comment on something. Yeah, I've tried to look at that soccer game, and I just can't figure out. I mean, I watch people on TV talking about the first couple of games, and they didn't score any points. First two games were ties. I think they were nothing to nothing. And people just got so excited about that. I mean, it was like, it was like they'd won the Super Bowl and scored 400 points or something, but they hadn't scored anything. Neither team had scored any points. And I realize it's not all about scoring points, but hell, if you can't score a point, how does anybody win? And
I
can't. And then they got real excited because they won a game 1-0, and and the guy got needing the jewels, and it's just Diana's Has Mike pancakes? I thought you were eating donuts. He'll get donuts for Thursday night, he said. Okay, Mike, I'm going to hold you to that. Oh, what was I saying? Oh, yeah. But I know that it's a big deal for America to be in that, or the United States, technically, to be in that game. But I don't know. Anybody else? What's Carol? Did your kids play soccer? Or Mike? Or who else is in here? Anybody? I know mine didn't, so I can't ask Brenda. There's a lot of kids around here play soccer. One of
To
the
me,
guys,
it's like watching paint dry.
it is to me too. I can sit there for a few minutes, and all they do is,
I know they're amazing physical specimens,
oh
and
yeah, absolutely.
they're running up and down the field, but it's just like, if you're gonna run up and down the field, you ought to have like a racket in your hand and like be beating on each other's heads with a stick. Play a nice gentle game, like bag it away.
Yeah, something like, or what was it they played in Ireland? They still do. Hurling. They play
Yeah,
hurling with a short club and ball of some sort. And I'll never forget watching America Wide World of Sports in probably the '60s, maybe early '70s, but I suspect in the '60s. And they decided to show like Ireland's all hurling match, the big match that they get real excited and worked up about that too. And what I remember about it was they beat the crap out of each other. I mean, I saw blood and bandages and everything else, and they were just out there, hammering away on each other, having a great old time. And I think that was the last time they ever showed that on American TV. I think they decided that might be a little too much, but that'd be kind of like an old game of stickball. Oh, you're leaving me. Hey, look what I figured out.
I'm trying to turn around here, so maybe.
That's what I figured out after all this time. Right hand on my right side, left hand on my left side. And I know that because that's where the Canada flag is, and that's where my American flag is. And I finally figured out how to do that. And I don't know if it shows up that way on your end, but that's how it shows up on mine. It took me all this time to figure that out. Diana said we tried. Diana said we tried soccer. It was painful. Carol said my kids all played soccer for some amount of time. We didn't do the travel sports though. Way too expensive. Seriously. Yes, I've met kids, and I've actually gone to school with kids that did that. There were a couple of kids I knew growing up that I guess were good, or their dads thought they were going to be really good. And he took them out of the schools I was in and moved them off to some other high school or some other place where they could play ball and get noticed. And I don't remember any of them that did anything except Steve Spurrier, but he don't count anymore. He's persona non grata. As far as I'm concerned, he's from Tennessee, but he sure never acted like it. That's how I feel about soccer, Mark. They're a bunch of crybabies. You bump into him, and he like cries like a big baby. I guess that's when they get yellow cards and stuff, right, Mike? Or red flagged, or lots of money on playing soccer, though.
It's not like watching a good old fashioned lacrosse game where you just like beat the snot out of your opponent legally.
And Mike, one of my sons was like that. We'd show up at the practices and games, and he just wanted to play in the sandbox in the park. Well, that's probably a good sign that there's other things. Good morning, Dave. Adventures by D is in the room. How are you today, sir? You got any big plans? Kind of roomacy gloomacy here. First, there's a sticker for the first person that knows what that's from. That's one of Brenda's favorite descriptions and It came from a show we've probably all seen, but it's been a few years ago now. I can't find my stickers. I've been moving things around here, and just as I suspected, its change is not good. Because when I change stuff, I can't find it anymore. You have that problem?
Oh yeah.
That's why I say, see, I could give somebody a live bearded sticker
Amen.
if anybody can name that show or name where that came from. And if they can, I'm going to tell them in a minute because I'm going to show my age, I guess. Not that I'm not showing that already. More Christmas drive-thrus coming. Oh, okay. Good deal. Just a different part of Atlanta or North Georgia, or there's people around this neighborhood have gotten some nice stuff up this year already, which I'm going to try to kick and prod Brenda into trying to put up our tree here in a day or two.
We got 2 up
already. I mean, you do. Kelly's got a house full. Not that I'm trying to keep up with, your 2 because it don't count for me. She's got up like 10 or 12.
We've got just 2 little trees, and I put them in the stands and fill the stand full of water, and then my job is done. My wife decorates it all. So.
What kind of trees do you cut or get out there?
They're subalpine firs.
How far away did you go to get
also them? Known as urine fir. Not quite that nicely spoken, but
yes, I got you.
they smell a little bit cat.
Yeah, okay. I saw that, Dave, but I didn't have time to watch it. And I'll admit I just saw it a day or 2 ago. In fact, I might have seen it last night when I was working on today's topic. Man, I tell you what, I had trouble sitting here yesterday. It wore me out. Pardon my language, but my arse hurt bad last night. But you'd think would make one just make sure he stayed off of it. Oh, I just saw this too. Mike's slipping away from donuts here.
He's going into the biscuits and gravy. That's a good place to go.
That's a good swap for. I mean, I'd probably swap that for donuts 9 out of 10 times.
At least.
Yeah, at least. 9 out of 10. What's something else 9 out of 10 bow hunters prefer?
Oh man, I can't.
Peanut M&Ms, dude.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. And the Indians always rolled theirs around in dirt before they ate them. I used to tell my cousin that he'd roll his M&Ms in dirt and eat them.
It was part of an issue.
Just because that's the kind of people we were.
Yeah. Well, it helps you grind up your food when you eat it later.
Yep. Well, Granny always said you had to eat a peck of dirt a day.
What?
I said, Granny always said you had to eat a peck of dirt a day.
Yep.
Or you just weren't living right.
Oh, she made you go out in the cold and do that, huh?
Well, down in this country, they just leave them up year round.
Yeah, just don't turn them on all year. I mean,
they turn them off, but they keep them nailed up to their house year round.
I like this answer. And I've heard that before, Mike. We're doing an international study here. what do Canadian women tell their husbands when they say something like that in Canada versus America? And it's real close to the same thing. My wife probably would use stronger language than that, but it would mean the same thing. Got to keep those men working. Thanks, Carol. Hey, you want to get up and say hi to Carol? Hmm? You want to set up? No, that was the look that said, mm-mm. Hey, Kay, good morning. Kay Atwood's in the room.
Okay.
I was going to wait just a few minutes before I start talking the talk, but
You ain't nobody this morning. You don't have no tag on your screen.
yeah, I do. I see it.
I don't see it. Oh, there you are, Bucking Bear. I was looking in the wrong place.
We have to. I mean, I had to, make it. I always change it. So far, I don't think I've ever repeated it. Ow! 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 I'm sorry. I woke you. Let go. What did I saw something here? Well, that keeps us busy, or keeps you busy, Dave. Carol said hello to you, even if you're going to be hateful. She said unsociable, but I thought he might stay. He just came back down from eating breakfast, so he, of course, that meant I had to wake him up so he could go up and eat, like he would ever miss a meal. Oh, I missed this a minute ago.
Still hadn't put the back up.
Oh, I was trying to read that, and I thought she was saying he hadn't put them back up, but I get it now. You women you're outnumbering us in here. Well, no, maybe not. It might be an even fight. Well, it's not an even fight, but no way. Oh. Oh my goodness, I got to pour me some coffee. Hang on, bear with. I took 2 Tylenol and a muscle relaxer, so hopefully I can get through this without too much agony. Sometimes my coffee cap gets full of condensation. And then when I take the lid off, it gets all over me and anything else I've got sitting around. So I've learned to be more careful about that. I've only been doing this for about, 40 years or so. Probably about closer to 50, I guess. Oh, yeah, at least that. Probably close. I've been drinking coffee since I was pretty much a kid. But not as much as I did while I was working, especially at Jet Center. When I was working on airplanes, that was a regular thing. We had free coffee because they always had it for the pilots. So we could drink it too. We just had to, fix it. If we ran out, we had to fix a new pot for them. But I think that's when I really started drinking a lot of coffee. And then when I moved into the other business, everybody knew me by my thermos because I was always carrying it around. Okay, it's about time. It's getting close. I was going to wait till 10:30, but maybe we'll just start talking about it. So, instead of the World Cup, this time of year, every year, not every 4 years, I get real excited because this is one of my absolutely most favorite times of the year and has been since I was a wee tyke. I can't remember the first rodeo I saw on television, but it would have been mid to late 60s. And back then, you'd only see one night or one you wouldn't even see a whole show. They just show the finale, and I realized years later that we were only getting to see parts of it because, if you see it live, it's at least 2.5 hours or thereabouts, and that's rust. That's with them rushing through things. They don't take a lot of time in between stuff, which I wish they just do. But I guess people have a hard time sitting still that long. I don't know. I could sit through it if they. I think I'd rather sit through it if they give everybody a couple extra minutes to.
And you need to back up because
I'm too close.
some folks here probably don't know that this is the National Finals Rodeo, and it's 10.
Well, I was going to say that.
10 days.
Yeah, this is a 10-day rodeo. It started night before last, and it will go for another 8 days, and it will finish up next Saturday night. And I've got some numbers and things written down about that. I've even got a little bit of history about it. And I don't know if you remember this or not, but I do. The first couple of times it was on television, they were still in Oklahoma.
It was Oklahoma City.
Yeah, Oklahoma City did it. And actually, the very first one was in Los Angeles, believe it or not.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, according to what I found online, anyway.
Which is ironic.
Oh yeah, it's very ironic, and because as we were going to talk about here, what we have been talking about this week was that's very ironic because there's people in Los Angeles area counties that have worked their hardest to ban anything that even looks like a rodeo or any other athletic event that might concern animals in any way, especially if it involves, people riding them or in their opinion, hurting them. And, which is probably about the furthest thing from the truth. They're honestly, with the exception of the calves that they rope, which is an everyday thing that happens on the ranch or seasonal anyway. I would have to say that the bucking horses, the barrel racing horses, and the bulls, well, even the horses that they ride in the timed events, which I'll explain in a minute, they're all athletes and they all do a job, and the good ones really know what they're doing, I think. And the bulls, you couldn't. I mean, most people would love to have the life of a bucking bull.
I would.
Rodeo circuit.
What a great way to make a living.
Yeah, and if you're a good bull, halfway decent bull, you get, when your days are done, you get turned out to pasture and get to roam free with the cows. I mean, what a rough life that is. Pardon the idea, but they get treated like, I don't know how to say that. They get treated very well. And that's part of the things people don't understand about how everybody thinks everything they do is cruel to the animals. And like I said, that's the furthest thing from the truth because they really don't. They really aren't treated cruelly. Now, I can't swear that there wasn't a time and place when animals didn't get treated badly. But it's been a long time ago, and lots of things have changed since then. I can remember when I saw horses, and I have to admit I've seen this, but it wasn't in rodeos. It was in just my experience where horses were, whipped and beat and all kinds of things because they weren't doing what they were supposed to do, and never thought that was right. And there's just a much better way to tame a horse down without doing that and make a better horse. Mark, you train your horses in an entirely different way, I know.
Yeah,
Mark's got several, and if you watch a good rodeo, a cowboy that's out, doing this kind of thing, they can really work with a horse, and by the time they get ready to ride them, some of them don't even buck. I mean, what's Mike saying here? It's funny how people think treating animals are cruel, when most of the time people can't even treat people with dignity. That's a very good point, Mike. But I'm sure there's people that treat animals not well out there. We all know. Yeah, but you know what? A lot of those people don't have anything to do with rodeos or this kind of event. Um, there's all kinds of stories out there. One of my uncles at least, was into walking horses, and years ago they used to do all kinds of evil things to walking horses to get them to pick up their feet and prance like they like to see them on in the ring, and they made them quit doing that. And they would burn their ankles or burn their area above their hooves, and do things to them that would make them pick their feet up, which was really bad. And they think there's a lot of ways they can do that. Plus, it was pretty much a natural gait of a walking horse. They just made it exaggerated. Actually, I always thought to the point where it looked kind of silly. But Mike says he should have been a cowboy. Well, you're from the right. There's a lot of cowboys.
Everybody should be.
Well, yeah, that's true. I mean, didn't you grow? I mean, I'll have to admit that I grew up wanting to be a cowboy, I'm sure. Well, I'll have to confess something in a minute, but I grew up wanting to do that sort of thing. And one of the first pictures my mom used to have of me, and I don't know what happened to it, was me standing by a creek with a cowboy outfit on, a hat and a vest and boots, probably a holster with a fake pistol in it, a cat pistol of some sort. And that was for my third birthday or something. So it started early with me. But some of us just don't live in the right place for that.
That's funny because Mom just gave me a whole bunch of old photos, and it was probably my third birthday. I was in the exact same outfit.
I'm telling you, man, there are so many parallels in our lives.
I had on like white pajamas, and black boots, and a black hat, and a gun belt.
I think mine was red, but I'm not positive. Hey there, buddy. You gonna get up and say hi? No, you're just turning around. Just flipping over to get the other side done a little bit. But then as I grew up, I flipped the narrative, and my cousin and I were always riding ponies, and we were always the Indians. They just felt a whole lot more like what I should have been, probably, but maybe the horses weren't putting up the Christmas decorations when their wives told them to. Well, now, that's not very nice. Plus, horses have trouble with ladders. Their feet are slippery on rungs.
And they're short on opposable thumbs.
They're very short on opposable thumbs, despite the things you see in the cartoons. Like Quickstraw, he always managed. Somehow he could grip a pistol or the reins or whatever he needed to do, like he had a thumb. Mike says he worked on a ranch. Oh, that's cool, Mike.
Uh-oh.
How old were you, Mike, when you did that, if you don't mind my asking? There's a couple of places around here that use horses to do that very same thing. I'm not disadvantaged kids and kids that have other disabilities and things. They use horse therapy a lot, and they say, "Hey, Boudreaux, my God, look at you!
Megan?
You growed up, buddy.
Look at him. He's got full-size teeth and everything. Look at that.
Oh,
He's
an
been
awesome.
eating my wool blankets.
Huh?
He's been chewing on wool blankets. He's been in trouble.
Oh, Boudreaux. Bad boy.
Chewed my Filson vest. Chewed the brim of
Oh,
my
no.
wool hat. He likes the taste of wool, and he needs to get over that real quick.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, I remember when he chewed up your hat. Is that the same hat?
No, it's one just like it though.
I remember that day you were not real happy with him, as I recall.
And he's got he's got a full set of adult teeth now, and he should be done with all that.
That's right. He doesn't need to be chewing on things like that.
No.
Oh, that's
he ate all the way around Hudson Bay blanket. It looks like mice, like giant mice, chewed the edge of the blanket. He literally ate completely around the blanket.
Oh man! Oh no,
which is not cool.
No, that's not cool. For a couple of reasons. One, Hudson Bay. Is it Hudson Bay? Did you say?
Yeah, it was a Hudson Bay.
Man, those things are hard to come by these days, and they are damn expensive.
They are damn expensive. Well,
they were back in the day, but they don't.
I bought a couple of them a few years back, or I bought one. My wife bought one for me, and then he chewed one of those two up, and she just bought me another one, and they're at least twice what they were just a few years ago.
Yeah, they've gotten real expensive.
Them Canadians are jacking up the prices on us, going to trading for beaver.
Oh, let me move back here a little bit. Here's Mike. Mike said he started doing this when he was 15. The ranch was called Six Pine Stables. My buddy's dad used to run it. They were called the Wayne family. He went on to managing the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Oh, really?
Huh?
Wayne Miller is his name. We used to play football. The Blue Bombers. How long is he still doing that, Mike? There you go to show you what you mess around with horses, you might be able to do anything.
That's fact.
Oh, I tell you, that's probably true, Mike. Good for you. That's a good deal. I think I'd like to have that opportunity when I was 15. When I was 15, I was working in a really, really, really hot or really, really cold warehouse on weekends and evenings. And I'd much rather been out messing with horses. That's kind of when I got away from riding and stuff because I was always busy. What do you see?
Harris sparrows.
Ah, yes.
They've been here all week. There's 2 of them out there right now. That's pretty cool.
Didn't you say they stayed pretty much all winter?
No, I just see them twice a year, once in the spring and once in the fall. They've been here for about a week now. There's 2 of them.
I wonder if that's weather related, probably.
I don't know. It's all I know is it was below zero when I got up this morning, and it's still below zero.
That's another topic I might have to talk about someday. Is bird migrations, because people.
I thought you meant below zero.
No, we don't. We can talk about that, but it's hard to simulate.
It's just miserable, is what it is.
I'm going to show you something, and hope I won't get in trouble for this. But listen to this and tell me.
You're going to get banned from the YouTube again.
No, I'm not. It's not that kind of thing. I want to see if anybody can hear. You may not be able to hear this. If you can't, you ought to go look it up. Okay, what? There it is. My computer's running slow this morning. This is two Tom Lynxes sitting somewhere up in Canada. I'm guessing by the trees, which is where they roam anyway. Listen,
they look dark.
Them.
They look like black painters.
Yeah, from here they do. Let me see if you can hear these guys.
Again over territory. If we ought to get over here now. There's lots of noise, I think.
Can you hear that?
Heard too.
Yeah, it sounds like a baby crying.
Yeah. Both they're calling at each other. And that's the kind of.
You guys ever out or get it up? We got this.
I don't know if they ever went to scrapping, but these guys are sitting in their car. Well, they got a lot closer to them here.
They're not happy with each other.
No, they're not. And man, if they got onto each other, the fur would fly. But, that's how it works.
It's better just to walk away and you do some yelling and walk away.
Yeah, one of them, maybe they decided that the road was the boundary line. And one would stay on that side and I'll stay on this side. The Higginbothams and the Roustabouts or something. I don't know, the feud. Look at that, though. Oh, man, those are just magnificent animals. They are beauties. This one here is thinking, I won. But he's going in after him. I bet they still didn't settle this for a while. This is a couple of guys. I think these guys are probably wildlife people or forest people or something because they, I don't know, they just talk like it. They talk like they might have known what they were doing out there. And I forgot I had that pulled up. So now I'm going to get my other screen.
Yeah, what's that got to do?
That's
a big old short-tailed squirrel right there.
A big old growling, mean short-tailed squirrel too. At that, man. All right, let me get the right stuff pulled up.
One of the finer movies ever made.
Yeah, it was. That's another one I need to get my hands on.
We got no squirrel monitor today. We could just bounce all over the place.
No, she's not here right now. She sent me a note. She had a funeral today.
Oh.
Yeah, she said she might be here before we were over. Okay, Mike is saying that
the YouTube police are coming after us.
There is. Wayne Miller's his name. He's a big, stocky guy, just like me. Well, that's cool, Mike. Miserable is not a strong enough word, Mark.
Yeah, they don't make a word strong enough for below zero temps.
You guys are probably already having that, aren't you, Mike? Diana? Okay, I'm gonna share this other screen now.
We've been that way, what now, babe?
What?
Couple weeks.
Below zero?
Not below zero, no.
Hi, Shauna.
Week.
Hi.
We got the lodge picture still in there.
Yeah, I kind of like that. It's kind of a warm winter thing, Plus, I just like it. It's a nice lodge. That's a nice setup there.
It's really sculpty looking, though.
Yeah, well, maybe, but I still like it.
Where's the wood pile?
Well, I don't know. It's over here by the door.
Where's the mud and mashed grass?
Oh well, that's a good point. I think this has got a floor in it, or maybe it's on a floor. I don't know.
It looks like we talked about this before. It looks like pea gravel or something
That
almost.
could be, which not be a bad idea actually if you had a fire. I mean, think about it. Pea gravel's not that uncomfortable, and
Yeah, I
some
mean, if you were setting up regularly in the same spot,
it'd form a it'd form a depression. Anyway, we're going to talk about the rodeo this morning. Hey, John, welcome in, buddy. Well, we're talking about
John,
you'll see a Frontier Day sign in here, but when I show the slides, but we're talking about actually rodeo, but we're talking about the National Finals Rodeo, which is happening from December 1st this year to December 10th. So we're right in the middle of it. This is our
every year,
season every year.
every year.
It starts the first week in December and runs that first full week of December. Which I had read something that said they start the first full week of December, but this year that's not true because they started on the first. So, but it's always in this time of year, and it has been for eons. And like I said, I've been watching it for a long time.
10 days of bliss.
10 days of bliss, unless you're a contestant, then you're getting beat up. That's 10 days of rough living for these guys. Please consider hitting the like button, guys, subscribing to the channel, and leaving a comment. Apparently, all those things help you to promote the channel, to which I say thank you, but we'll see whatever happens. Anyway, what's the next slide here, boys? Oh, too far. I got just a very brief history of rodeo. And it's a sport that grew out of the cattle industry in the American West, but that's not really where it started. Its roots reach all the way back to the 16th century in the Spanish conquistadors. And Spanish Mexican settlers played a key role in the origin of rodeo with the introduction and propagation of horses and cattle in the Southwest. And that's quoted from the Tejas State Historical Society. And that link works if anybody wants to check them out. Of course, the Texans, they take credit for everything. So, and rodeo came off the ranches it wasn't always ranches, but off the herds of animals that were grazed in the West, being free ranging their own ranches. But branding was a way to mark them so you could find them and know which ones were yours, because they'd all get together in the times when they were just grazing. How does that happen? And you'd have to have a way of picking your cattle out from the other cattle, so they'd round them all up in the and brand when the cow was born, and they'd put their mark on them. And this was supposed to be in 1888. And, this is all going to kind of work its way into being rodeo. Everything, I would say, with the possible exceptions of bull riding, which I can't really think of any ranch task that maybe involved that. But certainly other things that had to do with cattle. Horseback riding, the roping events. Oh, good, cool, John. You saw the national finals, or you saw Frontier Days? I think Mark has been to Frontier Days. He can hear me. Have you been to?
I can hear you. I turned myself off because our son's dog's barking his head off.
Oh, that's who that is. Anyway, you've been to Frontier Days, haven't you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I used to work with a quarter of a mile from it.
Yeah, true. That's true.
My wife used to work there.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
When she was in high school and stuff, they did a lot of work at Frontier Days. And she grew up within just a few blocks of the the dad. So the stadium there,
Is that what they call it?
the daddy of them all.
Yeah. Well, I
So
mean, is that technically the name, or is that just what everybody calls it? Because I know that.
that's what that event is called.
Okay.
It's not what the stadium's called. I don't know what the stadium's called.
So, and out of all that, I said it's going to be brief. We had some of the first rodeos that were organized on a larger scale. And that top picture is a ticket from November 1st, 1928. And it was from, October 23rd to November 1st. But that was in Madison Square Garden, of all places, New York City.
They still do PBRs there.
Yeah, I know. It's a big deal, I guess. They draw pretty good crowds up in New York. I can imagine why.
Well, the current world champion bull rider is from New York.
Oh, is he? I didn't. Well, I'm sure.
Dalen Swearingen, he's a New York boy.
Oh, okay.
Well, he bounced back and forth between, I think, Georgia and New York, and he's got a place in Texas now, I guess. But anyway.
Hey, we got some more guests in. Mike and Bella's Travel Channel. Good morning, Michael and Bella. And let me make this. And we welcome and hope you can hang around for a while. And John says, punch them dogies. No Tim saying calves corralled and branded outside. Outside of Chugwater by Quebec 11 missile silo. Quebec. I don't say Quebec unless I'm trying to make fun. But that's cool, John. I don't know, Mark. Did you ever work? Were you not working with anybody out there when you lived in Chugwater? Did you? I mean,
I branded for the Smiths, couple Smith ranches, and then a guy up out of Yoder, and yeah, I mean, smelled a lot of burning hair.
Well, I'm sure you did. So I can read this. I don't know if maybe you guys can see it, but it's basically the inaugural true National Finals Rodeo by name was held in '59 in Dallas. Oh, they're saying that was in Dallas. Oh, okay. I see about California. And there's at the Texas State Fair Coliseum. And they did that there for 3 years, and then they moved to Los Angeles, California, to the sports arena. Then Oklahoma City outbid them in '64 to be the host city. In '65, the first NFR at the State Fair Arena drew 47,000 fans. And they were there through 1978. And I remember when they changed, I thought, oh my God, they're leaving Oklahoma City. Where would they go? Well,
they went to Las Vegas, Nevada.
Yeah, I got ahead of myself though, because then they were at the State Fairgrounds, and then in '79 it took place at the Myriads Convention Center, and by this time they brought in state merchants an estimated annual revenue of $8 million. And that's the thing I guess most people realize, but when you have a big event like this, if it really is popular and you really do draw crowds, they spend so much money in hotel rooms, food they eat, bars where there might be drinking, just all manners of things they buy and pay for within the city area, that it's usually a huge income draw for the locals. And it's the same thing when, for motorcycle events or big racing events of any kind, and they usually draw big crowds, and it's usually quite a good payday for them. And then I didn't know this, but Oklahoma City Council considered building a new $30 million arena in the state fairgrounds. And this is in the late '70s or no, early '80s. but the Los Angeles bid won. And since '85, it's been held at Thomas and Mack in Las Vegas, with one exception. The NFR has become Thomas and Mack Center's Arena's biggest client, bringing in more than 170,000 fans during a 10-day event. And I'll tell you something, that is a hard show to get a ticket for. I've looked for years just to see if there are ever any available. I've never found.
You got to buy them right now if you want a ticket for next year. You got to buy it. You better be buying it this week, or they'll be gone.
Yeah, or you can probably buy them scout, but you're going to pay a lot of money for them. John sent me, so I'll look for that in just a minute, John. Thanks. But that brings in quite a bit of money, and I don't think I'd put that in there, but the money it brings into the city of Las Vegas now and the money it's paying the Cowboys is unbelievable.
I think they said last night it's over $40 million.
It could very well be. Well, they pay out. I added it up the other night. What they pay. I've got it in here in a minute, but what the payout is for just to the Cowboys in each event. NFR is the premier rodeo event put on by the PRCA, or the Professional Rodeo Cowboys Association. Those links should be hot. You should be able to click those if you're interested. And first full week of December. And Thomas and Mack is on the campus of University of Nevada, Las Vegas, in case you didn't know. And they claim that's Paradise, Nevada, but it's part of Los Angeles or Las Vegas. And now it is live. It is aired live so far for the last several years on the Cowboy Channel. And there's even Cowboy Christmas, which they show a lot of during the week. And that's a big deal, too. That's in the convention center.
Yeah, huge trade show.
Huh?
Huge trade show.
Oh, yeah, huge trade show. And I thought this was interesting because I know a little bit about this. But the rodeo uses special dirt, and it's stored on the UNLV campus for use in next NFR. And that's this dirt you see around these cows. This is the contestants gathered here in the middle by state. They come in, they always, and country. Last night, the first Guyans from Australia, then they've got a couple of Brazilians. And then, they come in by the states, whoever's got, if you're from any state participating, and if you're the only one, you'll be the rider that carries that flag. And
there's a whole pile of Canadians, too.
Yeah, there's a whole pile of Canadians.
A whole pile of them.
Especially this year. It got for a few years, and there weren't a lot of Canadians in the.
There's a lot of hurting Albertans riding bucking horses. They're really good at that.
Here's something, John. Hang on just a minute. I might show
you got like some kind of a spammer attacker happening or something.
What did I do?
Free Vert Girls chat.
Oh boy, I have arrived. If the mods can help me just, work that out of the chat, because I can't get to that post. Yeah, if somebody can get that, I'd appreciate it. I mean, you can I stop them? I can probably put them in timeout. Oh, I can block them too. Oh, John, I hope I didn't just do you.
He's good.
Okay. Maybe I did get them out. Okay, right. So anyway, this dirt, they pile it up every year. And what the deal is there, when they get to the right consistency of dirt, mixture of sand and clay and just soil in general. If there was a soil scientist in here and I called it dirt, I'd be in trouble. But you guys know what I'm talking about. And if they get that right, they keep it and use it every year, so they don't have to go out and dig, find new dirt. Thank you, Carol. Well, yeah, because I'm looking on the in StreamYard, and you're right. I get it delayed over here. I didn't even see it when it popped in. Like I said, I guess I have arrived. Anyway, that's a big deal, and there's some contractor that gets that job when my father-in-law and Brenda's oldest or only brother used to put that dirt down for stadium in Johnson City every year when they would have a rodeo there. Smaller rodeo that travels around a lot to smaller venues, and they would they had a pile of dirt they worked with, and they always reused that and filled the arena in one couple of days to fill it up and put it down everywhere, and then a couple of days to get it all out so they can play whatever sport they play in, their basketball or something usually, in this kind of arena. So then after that, I was going to talk about a little bit about the events. And the first event, and one of the classics, I guess, really is the bareback broncs. And basically, these guys are not using a saddle, but now they do use
They got a rigging on there that's got an amp.
I was trying to think how to call it. I was going to call it a rig, but I didn't know people. Which basically is a strap around the horse, and it's got a handhold on it at the top, usually made out of a piece of wood or leather covered wood or something to that effect. They put one hand in that as tight as they can get it. It's usually rosined up to the point where you'd about have to have dynamite to get it out. I honestly wonder how some of them do get them out. When they stick them in there, they've got to work it in, and then when they fall off, if it don't come out, you're going to get hurt. But this is, classic action you would see. And I really like this one down the lower left corner because he's all stretched out there and, hanging on. Now, this sport, and I think that picture, and maybe this one up here where he's in the air all 4 feet, I think that's Will Lowe in both of those, Mark. You know who I'm talking about. But and these guys, because of the way they ride, they lean way back like this guy is at the top. And honestly, sometimes their heads literally bounce off the horses. But that's why this guy's wearing a lot of them wear a neck roll now. And that's kind of to give you some cushion if you do get slapped in the head, back of the head, by the bareback guys or broncs.
So there's 3 rough stock events. This one and saddle broncs and bulls. And this one's the most physically damaging to your body.
Yeah, you'd think a lot of people think it's all about the bull riders, that how bad they are.
They get hurt on the ground. They don't usually get hurt while they're riding.
But these guys get beat up during a week, 10 days of riding. They're all limping out of the arena usually.
Yeah, it's just like, you get on an animal that gives you whiplash repeatedly.
Ignore this one up here in the right corner. I just realized that's a saddle bronc. Sorry about that. I don't know how I did that. I had them smaller emojis, and I obviously wasn't paying close attention. Maybe I meant to put him in the next slide. But the horseback riding events are really 2 of the classic events in rodeo. They always have been. And in fact, I think I've got a picture, but the PRCA uses a bucking horse, and I can't remember if it's saddle bronc or bareback on their logo. And the state of Wyoming, I believe, has a cowboy on a saddle bronc, don't they? And somebody does, I know.
He was born on a little ranch just west of Chugwater. His name was Steamboat.
The horse or the guy?
The horse. And he went a long time without being ridden. and then he finally rode at Frontier Days. But yeah, that's what our logo is. It's on our license plates. It's on our university mascot. Seems like about half the high schools in the state have used it in various forms.
And this is almost a classic shot of that here. This guy that's the one I put in the saddle bronc rider that I put in here because there's a guy leaned back, but spurring the horse and holding on by a rope. These guys they hold on to a different kind of rigging, or this isn't a bridle, but it's hooked to the halter like a bridle.
It's a halter with just a single rein, that braided rope rein. He's getting launched.
Yeah, he's
out of he missed his swells. He's leaving.
Yeah, it looks to me like he's coming off the horse. And this guy down here in the lower left is Casey Fields, who is working on his 6th or 7th national championship this year, if he can hang in there. I know he had 5, and I guess he got 6.
I think this would be 8 if he gets it.
It might be. That might be the deal. And
he won the first night.
Yeah. Last night, I don't think he was in the money.
No.
And they pay down to 6th place. And the money that you earn during the events and this one goes into your points or goes into your formulation of whether who wins. And basically, it's the guy with the most money at the end of the year is the winner. And when you go to an event like this now, where it really pays well, if you can ride your horses or your bulls, you can stand to win a lot of money in a week. They're paying out $28,600 so now for the winner for each event each night. And if you win a couple of events, that adds up quick. And then
the money they earn throughout the year plus this event determines who gets to be the big winner.
Which is another interesting thing I heard this week. And I don't know if this was the same discussion with Tuff or if this was another guy, an older guy. I guess they've often contested this. The Cowboys, some of them don't think this should count towards their yearly earnings because it's such a big deal. I mean, you can come in here and if you draw the right horses or the right bulls or the right calves, you can go in here and earn a lot of money / points real quick, and you can take over and outdo what a lot of these guys have earned in a year pretty easily. So I didn't know that they had talked about that. I don't know how I feel about that now that I've read it or saw it because I never thought about it like that.
Well, they have to earn enough to even qualify.
Right, they do.
They have to have gone to enough events and won enough money
to
get to this event.
You have to go to a certain number of events, and then you have the top 15 money winners go to the NFR, qualify for the NFR. And there's a couple of alternates. This year's different though, Mark. They've got 16 bull riders. I didn't know that. I haven't counted them through. But they actually.
Yeah, and I think that's when they come in tied up.
It must be because they were talking about it on the Flint show or somebody's show, this week, and they've got 16 there. Usually it's 15. Carol says that must take a lot of training. Well, it does, but they train in different ways. Some of these guys ride a lot of practice horses, at least for part of the year. Casey Fields, he doesn't ride as many practice horses anymore. He's got a bucking machine
barrel or something he's using.
That he rides that he practices on. He's got something he called a spurring board. I don't
Yeah.
know how that works. I just assumed that was part of his bucking routine. I mean, the machine, but he said he had a bucking, two things. He said the simulator / barrel for bucking, and then he said something about his spurring boards.
Yeah, which is a device you're sitting on. You're snapping your legs out so that you're spurring correctly. You got to lift and snap.
And that's something else that people mistake about rodeo. And at one time, I'm sure they use sharp spurs, but they're not allowed to use. They have to have a certain type of spur now to be legal, and they're real sticklers for that. And I remember they changed that a few years ago in bull riding, where they made them had to have the same rowels on their spurs, and they're not sharp. They're just got little bumpy edges, and there's usually 4 or 5 like a star, but they're not sharp. And a lot of people think they're raking the horse's flesh with something sharp to make them buck, and they're not. And while we're on that topic, we might as well talk about the
flank strap.
flank strap. This is the strap right here. If you look at that top right picture, this is what they call the flank strap. And a lot of people think, they have the misconception that this strap is wrapped around the genitals. Did you bring the passes from home, Carol, in case anybody questions? And I think we've all signed in here, but just in case. But a lot of people think that they strap this around their testicles, or in this case, their genitals, and tighten it down to make them buck. But that's not true.
They don't know nothing about animal anatomy.
Right. There's nothing right here to wrap it around. And
it gets pulled tight, kind of like a belt.
Yeah, it's kind of like somebody gave you a bear hug from behind around under your arms and just squeeze. And if you actually watch a rodeo, that strap a lot of times comes loose when they're bucking. It's not really that tight. It looks like it's pretty tight when they first start out, but it's really not that bad. And that's also I've always been told or heard, and I've heard riders say this, that's also part of the training for the horse. They know when the strap gets snugged down, it's time to go to work.
Well, no. So on horses, those are usually fleece lined.
Yeah, they're right. They're fleece lined.
Exactly. And then on a bull, it's a rope, and it's like a 3/4 inch thick rope, and that's not even pulled tight on a bull at all. It's just tied on there kind of loosely.
And when the bull turns out or the horse turns out, you'll often see a guy holding the strap or the rope as they turn out of the chute, the gate, and he'll pull it as they go out, which snugs it down, but it doesn't, strangulate the body or anything. It's not like that. Oh, you can open them back up, Carol. I'm through talking about personal things on horses. But that's a misconception. I've even heard that some people believe, and people do believe this, and they say this on the internet a lot, that the flank strap has, hooks in it or razor blades or spikes or, something to make the horse buck. And it's just not true. Whether that was done in the old days, I don't know. Maybe. I don't know what they did back then, but they fixed it if they did. And now they don't do that. But that's one of the reasons that the PETA or whoever the group is of animals that's in California that's been getting rodeos banned all over the state, or they're trying to.
Just in Los Angeles County.
Just right. Well, mainly in if they have their way, though, they'll go further.
Well, yeah, but I mean,
And the rodeo people are concerned about that.
And but these animals are like super valuable athletes that
they've never hurt one because they're worth too much money.
yeah, way too much money. These bucking horses, are bringing more money than race horses now.
Yeah, and they're valuable for a lot of reasons. A lot of these, but not all of them. I started to say they're stallions, but a lot of them are geldings, which means they're no longer able to reproduce. And here's another thing that goes against all of that. About half these horses are mares.
Well, more than half.
There's one guy.
They prefer mares for both events.
One guy yesterday they were interviewing said he had more stock at the rodeo than anybody this year, and I can't remember who he is, but I think he's out of Canada. Mike and Diana. Oh, John, you got to tell Dad we said hi, buddy. He had more mares than horses by over half. If he had 11 animals, 6 or 7 of them were mares, and the others were geldings, he said. So that's not even, breeding stock there. If you
they don't buck studs very often.
Do what?
They don't buck studs very often.
No. I mean, I don't know. But there are champion horses in this that, they do use or have. Maybe they've saved the sperm from these horses, which is done a lot.
Go on, bud.
In case they do want to use it for breeding. But that horse in that upper left corner, that white gray dapple horse, that's a really famous horse, but I can't remember her name. I think that's a mare. Anyway, I've seen that horse at a lot of events over the years. He or she's getting up in age now. They probably won't be around much longer to ride. They'll be put out to pasture and taken care of the rest of their lives. They don't just buck these animals and then when they're done with them, shoot them in the head. That's bogus. They would never do that. I mean, a lot of these animals become almost pets.
Well, Ty Murray has on his ranch. He takes these old retired bucking horses in all the time.
Yeah,
and then they're guys with bulls that they have graveyards for their bulls that as they pass away, they're if you look at what's his bucket up in North Dakota, he's got a whole cemetery that's just devoted to his former great bucking bulls. And
Chad Berger.
Chad Berger, yeah.
Yeah, he's a big time famous contractor. He's had a lot of really champion stock over the years. I don't know if he does horses now, but he's really good with bulls. I guess that's really all he does now.
He's a cow guy.
Yeah. So anyway, moving to the next topic. Steer wrestling, which I've always thought, this is another one that I don't see how people don't get hurt pretty bad on a regular basis. I mean, just look at these pictures. I mean, I don't know if this is the same guy here or not, may or may not be, but look at the horns on that cow, steer, and look how he's hung off his horse. I saw somebody this week hung off.
Did you see that guy on the first night that he was like a monkey, jumped off the side of that horse, and that steer was way out there. I thought, he's going to miss it, but he got him.
Yeah. That might have been Ty Erickson, I'm not sure. But he was hung way off that horse. And because that's this guy in this upper left picture, you got 2 people in a steer wrestling event. You got what they call a hazer, who is just there to help make sure the bull tries to stay over the steer, tries to stay over close enough to the rider's horse, but not too close that they can slide off their saddle and grab him by the horns and do what this guy down here in the bottom is doing, trying to skid to a stop. And these steers are 500 more pounds already, and I think they shoot for that range, but
500 pounders is what they like.
This guy's probably 300 or 250 or whatever, and I don't know how tall he is. these are the big boys of rodeo as a rule, but not always. And you can see if you look at his feet, he's skidding through the dirt in the arena trying to slow this steer down. And then once he gets him down, they have to lay him down on their side and get their feet up, all going one direction. And then they drop the flag. And this is a timed event. And some of these guys, some of these guys can do this in under 4 seconds. I can't remember what the arena record is. Seems like it's 3.8 or 3.6 or something.
I think 3.6. There was a 3.8 last night or the night before, and I was like, wow, it's just amazing.
It's unbelievable they can catch them that fast. Now, last night they had a bunch of guys running them near the other end.
Yeah.
Of this arena, and that those times can build up to 10 or 12 seconds, but usually they get them by then. I really like this lower picture down here. That guy's feet up in the air now. He needs to get his feet down if he's going to stop that steer. But you can see they're all putting the brakes on here, and he's got his eyes are closed. His mouth probably full of dip. I'd be my guess. And so he's going to try to roll this steer over. And and there's a guy hung way off on that upper one. I don't know if he caught that steer or not. But you can see how far off the saddle he is. They hook their heels on if they can when they start going over to try to control that. And of course, they've got one foot in the stirrup. But they still can't always. Sometimes they do fall off and just hit the dirt like a big bag of rice or something. I would say something else, but I wasn't online. But we refer to that often as sacks of other things. And another thing, a lot of people don't realize, I think it's not been the American image of a cowboy, but there's actually quite a few black rodeo stars, and over the years now, not compared to the number of white riders that are at these events, but there are Native Americans at some of these events. There's Native Americans in the bull riding, and like in the PBR, which is those guys do nothing but ride bulls. It's the Professional Bull Riders Association, and there's several young black guys coming up in that right now, if I'm not mistaken. This guy, I don't know if this is John Dodd. I can't remember his name, but he wrestles steers for quite a few years. What?
Douch.
Well, I don't think this is. Well, maybe this is Douch. If it is, it's his dad, because this is an older picture. But
because the other guy that's running right now, what's his name? He always wears that bright lime green.
Solomon.
Yeah, Solomon.
And
but I mean, historically, there were lots of African American cowboys.
Yeah, I've got a few notes about that at the end. But anyway, then we got I've got these in the order. These aren't necessarily in order by when they happened or importance, but this is how they run them in the rodeo. When you're the NFR, at least, this is the order they run things. And this is what they call the team roping. You got two guys, that's the team, and they've got to rope this steer. And like you see up here in the corner, the header or the front guy has to lasso the steer by the head or horns in a certain way. They do it wrong, they're disqualified right off. So these guys really work on this. It's amazing how well some of them can do that too. Just catch them right around the horns. It's the darndest thing I've ever seen. The healer is the back guy. That's the guy over here with the pink rope or whatever it's called, salmon covered rope, whatever that is. And you can see what he's done. He's looped the back feet, and which is also a magical thing to me to see him do it. I got a little bit better picture of that here in a minute. But they're
stand that loop up and lay it right in front of their back legs, and
then pull.
And then you better pull quick.
And
I'm good at catching one. Not on a running steer. I'm just like roping calves. I can rope, but not in one of this kind of high stress environment.
And you're just catching them by the head, right?
No, we're catching them by the back feet,
Oh, yeah, okay. Well, you're
and
healing
then
them.
you drag them to the fire and they get branded.
Yeah, okay. And that's how this got another one. This is another event where they were catching cattle to brand and whatnot. They're all rooted in a certain amount of actual jobs. And I couldn't resist this picture. That's just gorgeous. I think that, and that's obviously been touched up, or I don't even know. I don't think that can be a painting. I think it's a photograph, but it's been digitized, and these guys have been highlighted. But that's just a good picture of a team roping. And you can see right here on this picture, the lower left here, with the 667 cow steer, that how he's running that back loop under his feet, or his loop under the back feet, so that he can catch the legs. And how that's scored is from the time they leave the chute. Actually, it's from the time the header leaves the chute till they get the cow caught, the steer caught, and lines pulled out straight like that one was in the last photo there. This one up here in this corner. That's considered a catch, and then they stop the clock. And
Phil Dalton's making red beans and rice.
Hey, Phil.
Send me some out here, buddy.
Oh, man, that sounds good.
That does sound good.
I can almost smell it from here. Phil just got back from a trip to Arizona. I think when I can talk him into it here in a week or two, we're going to talk about his trip.
I wish I was down there right now.
Where it's warmer?
Yeah, where it's warmer. Or at least in Las Vegas.
Well, yeah, I'd like to be in Las Vegas right now. It'd be fun to be out there even if you didn't have tickets for the show, because there's a lot of places you can go drink brown liquor and watch the show on TV. Not that we would do that sort of thing. We don't condone that much. But it's just hospitable to do when you're amongst other people who are partaking. So anyway, then in the order of things, next comes along the saddle broncs. And I put this picture on the front because this is sort of the classic saddle bronc rider pose that's on a lot of the flags and icons. And I mean,
look at him stretched out.
Yeah. I think the one that's actually used, the horse is a little bit more vertical, but it's this pose. I mean, this is what a lot of people consider the classic rodeo.
That's at Cheyenne.
Yeah, it sure is. John's gone. But yeah, that's that.
Is that Stetson right? No, he doesn't have the right color shirt on.
I don't know who it is. But here's some of the predicaments they find themselves in. This first picture up here on the left is an older shot, black and white. I think this might have been Oklahoma, actually, because of the wall and the fence or whatever you want to call it. And I love this picture, shows just how athletic some of these horses are. I mean, this horse may be coming over on his back, which is not a good thing.
Yeah, it's not going to end well.
Yeah, it probably didn't. But look how high up in the air he is. My goodness. And this is, I think this is Robert Etbauer, the, Billy's brother.
Oh, yeah.
And the Etbauer brothers were out of Louisiana, and they were quite the riders for many, many years.
They were.
Well, I don't know if, I'm not sure about this, but for a long time, Billy Etbauer had the record at the finals of 93. Hi, Tina. Welcome in. Boy, you missed all the squirrel running early on. We chased squirrels all the way. What were we talking about? We chased them a long ways to get them.
All the way from the Pleistocene to current day.
Anyway, you can get the idea of what these guys do. And there's his hat flying off. These guys have to wear a hat when they're out there. They've got sort of a uniform that they actually have to wear. They have to wear a long sleeve Western style shirt. And some of them wear team shirts or shirts with their sponsors on them, just like bass fishermen or anybody else. And they got to have on jeans and cowboy boots, basically.
Chaps and
Chaps are probably also required. And if they don't wear that stuff when they come in to the arena,
they get fined.
They get fined, yeah, and apparently pretty substantially. And so most of the time, and that's a requirement. I mean, they like I said, they'll fine them if they don't do it. And when you look at if you look at the PRCA guidebook that how to join in, how to become a member, or what you're in your particular group or whatever, they spell that out and tell you up front that when you're on the stage, so to speak, you gotta look the look, even if you're a bull rider from New York City. They don't want somebody out there with a baseball cap on. That don't look cowboy.
And the chaps that they wear. If all of you that are listening want to not be considered a chichaco or a greenhorn, it's shaps with an SHAPS. That's how you say it. It's spelled with a CH, but people instantly know you're not from like cowboy country if you say chaps. So
even though it's chaps for almost everything else in the world.
Right.
I mean, motorcycle riders, Harley riders in particular, they like to wear black leather chaps.
Right.
I've never heard them call them shafts. Right. But
cowboys call them chaps.
And those originally were to keep brush and briars and stuff from eating the cowboys' legs up when they were.
And still are.
And still are, yeah, when they're out breaking.
Yeah, if you're working cattle, you wear them, or chinks, which are a shorter version of a shap.
Didn't you tell me that a lot of cowboys up your way do wear those? Or
chinks?
Yeah.
Yeah, I wear chinks, and they come down below your knee, but they don't go all the way to your boot like the fringe might.
Yes, Tina, I remember that commercial. That was a salsa commercial, and I think it was for who did that?
New York City.
New York City. The salsa that they were advertising, if I remember, came out of Texas, but
and the Pace Picante.
That was it. It was Pace salsa. Now there's a whole world of salsa in the grocery store. And now we get to tie down roping, which is I think an interesting competition. This cowboy's got to rope the cow and tie its feet up, lay it down, pull it down, whatever you want to call it. You can't, if your rope snags the calf, and the horse stops, as you can see, these horses are stopping in a big hurry, and that's what a good roping horse does. And they know, a good roping horse knows what to do. And so he's stopping here. Cowboy's already got his foot in the stirrup. He's getting ready to come off. And there's his other stirrup flying where he pulled his boot out. Or maybe it's still in there. No, I don't think so. He's out, I think. And they'll hit the ground a lot of times before the horse gets stopped. Run to the calf. You got to pull the calf down on his side, tie his legs up, and then he's got to lay there for 6 seconds, I believe, and not untie himself or not work his knot free. And if you want to call it a knot, they don't really tie a knot.
Two wraps and a hooey.
Two wraps and a hooey, which is they run a loop and another one, and they bring it underneath it and pull it and tighten it up. And sometimes they do a wrap and a hooey.
And that's what Tough Cooper did last night, and it caught. He won.
It was that, yeah, that's right.
His time won the event, but he couldn't. But his calf come untied.
Yeah, sure did, which might have been partly his own fault because he got.
Well, he only did one and a hooey. He didn't do two.
Well, yeah, but then he got the crowd all fired up, and the calf started jerking around. They said they hardly ever show the calf when they're on. They usually just show the cowboy looking, waiting. I think I've got some more pictures here. Hang on. So you run down. Here's the guy. He's left the horse. He's running down running down his rope. He's got to get a hold of the calf. And if that calf lays down or falls down, or the horse pulls him down before the cowboy gets there, which a good horse will not do that, then he's got to pick him up and then put him back down. What do they call it? Flank the calf. Get him on his knees. Oh, wow. I let my crazy foot's doing crazy things down here. Hang on just a second. They got stuff kicked everywhere. That's the problem with a crazy foot. You never know what the SOB's doing when you're not looking. No, not after that commercial, Tina. I'd be willing to bet none of them admit they were ever made up that way or anywhere else besides, the West, which is probably not even where it came from originally. I don't know. And Carol says, yep, she can hear the words without thinking of the voice in the commercial. That's very true. And then this guy, when you get your tie done, this guy throws up his hands, and that's when the flag drops to stop the time. And then you got to stand there and wait. He gets back on his horse, and then they have to wait, make sure the calf stays down for 6 seconds. I've seen them pop up right at the end of their time. And then, like he said last night, a good roper that's been around for a few years and been champion for 2 or 3 times. He tied his calf, was ahead, had the fastest time of the night. I believe it was 6:09.
Yeah, it was quick.
Yeah, it was a good run, better than quite a bit ahead of everybody else. But the calf got up, so it didn't count.
You get a 0 then.
You get a 0, which is really hard on you when you're trying to stay in the competition for 10 days. 1 0 might not kill you, but 2 zeros, you're done. Well, pretty much, average wise anyway. That doesn't mean he can't come back and win some rounds. He could still win some rounds, but it's not like he gets kicked out of the event or anything. And then we got the ladies of the pro circuit. Now, these women they now have women's rodeo events, but this is the one, barrel racing is the one event up till now where they've got to show off on the big stage. And I tell you what, some of these ladies are getting it. Now, Mark's sister did, and her daughter, I believe, did this.
Both of them, both her daughter. Well, one of them's still racing. And
they're doing local races and stuff, basically in Ohio, or they travel?
No, they go. Lisa used to travel down to Tennessee and Kentucky and all the, kind of sort of surrounding states. And she went and ran. She was in Knoxville at a big deal one year, and the Purcells came down and watched her run.
Oh, cool. I know we would have.
And she's done. And she ran poles too, but she's done and Lacey's done. And the youngest daughter, Taylor, is still racing. she's still riding barrels. So
Yeah, poles. I don't know if I've got a pole ride, or what do they call it? Is it just pole riding?
it's just, yeah, running poles or whatever.
And
And
it's
my sister's horse was really, really, really good at that,
oh yeah,
but he hated it. And every time, like, he was getting set up for a run, he was going nuts and raring and carrying on, and he'd just get psycho looking, and then off she'd go. And yeah, she was pretty good at poles. She did okay in barrels too, but
and
she
poles.
wasn't competing at this level where these gals are
Yeah,
at.
right. And poles, guys, if you've ever watched the agility contest for dogs, they run through poles. It's the same thing with horses. Of course, they're wider apart and taller, but they're doing the same thing. The horses are cutting in and out of the poles, and I guess in some ways that simulates what when you're working cattle. A good cattle horse can bounce and move back and forth real quick. I don't have any pictures of that because that's not a sport within this rodeo, but it is a sport that they do, or a show that they compete in, or a competition for cutting horses, they call them. And, if you've got a good cutting horse, then you can, they're worth a lot of money now too. So you can earn some money like that.
My little mare's really good at that, and working cat. We'll work up a group of cattle, and I can cut the calves all out just in the prairie. And I got the guy I ride for a lot. He's constantly been badgering me about breeding his stud to my mare, and I'm like, you want to take my horse out of play for a year? I don't want that.
Speaking of that, and not since I've already passed the riding, that contractor they were talking to last night said that several of his mares are actually with foal right now, but they'll only race them or use them, buck them, until they're what's gestation on a horse? 11 months.
Mm-hmm. It'll probably be. Yeah, he'll probably 5 or 6 months, and then
Yeah, that's what he said. I believe he said 5. He said, then they'll take them out of competition,
right.
and let them settle, and have their horse or have their calf or
They're full.
have their foal, and get those cow words out of my mouth here. But anyway, yeah, Tina, that's all I got. And I've seen several this week. They've had to stop and pick their cow up, calf up, and that's another thing. There's some of these guys are really strong, and some of them aren't as strong. They're thin or more, not barrel riders. I'm talking about calf ropers now. But some of those guys can really grab that calf and lift him up and put him back down. And some of them struggle with that because calves are usually, they're what, 150, 200 pounds, getting there anyway.
Yeah, probably the calves they're using. The calves they're using are probably 150 pounders.
But think about
As Joe Beaver would say, the calf.
the calf. That calf run back up that rope on him, and
That calf run back up that rope on him.
got slack in the line. And Joe, we're talking about a guy named Joe Beaver he was like the king of roping for years for that event. And hang on a minute.
In the part of the world he's from, they don't say calf, they say kiff.
Yeah. He was like 8 times world champion. So I guess if he wants to say kiff, he can, but
Yep.
it's kind of funny to listen to him.
All the cowboys from that part of the world say kiff.
Mm. And here's just some more of the girls laid out here doing their barrel racing. And one of these is in, it might have been in that last picture, or it could even be in a picture I didn't get. One of these is absolutely Cheyenne. It might be that top one there. No, it's Utah. No, actually, that top one with the white horse or that I would, or Gray, whatever he is, or she is. That young lady is in high school. This is the Utah High School Rodeo Association, which is another thing we don't a lot of schools didn't have. Now some are starting to have, and that's rodeo. Rodeo as a sport in the college and high schools.
So yeah, we've hosted the national high school finals a few years, and often, well, Gillette, we run it in Gillette occasionally, and kids from all over the United States travel here to compete in all the events that we're talking about. And then a few times it's been right down the road here in Rock Springs, and they've had it.
I mean, I guess I think back and think, oh, I wish they'd done that when I was in high school up here. But back then, it wasn't even heard of. I mean, nobody talked about schools back here. Well, we didn't have hockey either. Hey, Shelly, welcome in. Her first rodeo was in Pavilion, Wyoming, she said.
So they've been. I don't know what the deal is they're doing at the finals this year, where they're honoring. Well, last night it was Charmaine James, who was
they're icons of the sport, basically.
She's from Clayton, New Mexico. They're like she and Ty Murray and 26-time roper. I just like my brain just went blank.
Oh, you said it now. I can't think of it. I can see his face and I can see him standing.
Yeah, I can too. Anyway, she was amazing. She was my sister's hero.
Yeah,
heroine.
Great then.
And she once won. The bridle came off her horse in the entryway, and she ran the whole set of barrels with that horse ran that whole set of barrels, and she won the event. That was pretty cool.
With her bridle dragging.
Just like no hands, That was pretty cool.
I asked her last night in an interview I saw her doing when she knew the bridle was coming off, and she said, as soon as I came down the hallway.
Yep.
She run to the timing area. She felt it going, and by the time she hit the last barrel, it was just dragging on the ground. And
she was like riding like Costner in Dances with the Wolves.
Yeah, with her knees,
putting my hands out. And,
that with her famous horse. So she won 10 straight national final rodeo barrel racing on a horse called Scamper.
I think it was.
She rode Scamper, and some people said, and that event where the bridle came off kind of pushed this along, that it wasn't her, it was the horse. So she retired Scamper and didn't ride the next year, or didn't make the event because she was using a new horse. But she came back and won one more on a completely different horse.
Right.
To prove to people that it wasn't just her horse. But she also gives that horse a lot of credit.
Well, and if you're the one training and working with that horse all the time, I give that a lot of credit. So.
Oh, yeah. And there's several of these women now, like their name Haley Kensel, and I think Lisa Lockhart, and there seems like there's a couple more that now raise and train barrel horses.
Right.
That's part of their living. Shelley, how long were you out in that country, and what age were you back then? There's Mike again. Training pays off and animals are smart. You've been kind of quiet for a few minutes, buddy. Were you eating more pancakes? Or did somebody bring donuts? Yeah, it's still the training, and these gals work to get these horses ready. And let's see what I've got Yeah, one more event. Usually in the course of a rodeo, this will be the last event of the day or not. And that is bull riding. And here's a good example of what I mean when I say these animals are athletes. That animal right there is standing straight up like he's doing a handstand with a rider on his back and with them big old horns. Don't think he wouldn't grab you up them things and fling you across the arena.
It's them feet that kill you.
Oh, well, that's true too. Yeah, they stomp. Usually that's what hurts the riders more than the horn. Although they have, and this jacket or this vest these guys are wearing came about because of a famous bull rider named Lane Frost. There's been a couple of movies about him. And he actually took a horn in the back that I believe punctured his kidney.
That went it hit him in the rib cage and it punctured his heart.
Oh, okay.
It broke his ribs and punctured his heart, and yeah,
he didn't make it.
He didn't make it.
I think it's his nephew that's riding right now. I believe Josh. I think he's nephew or
cousin. I think.
Or, yeah, cousin. That's more what I was thinking.
Yeah, he's from Vernal. Just down. There's a little set. Well, it's not a little set of mountains. There's an east-west running little range of mountains south of me here that's called the Uintas, and Vernal's on the. I'm on the north side of that range, and Vernal's on this just over the hill on the south side. That's where those guys. Even Lane was from that country, and then they moved to Oklahoma. But Josh is still in that part of the family that stayed in Utah.
Lane was a good one. I remember watching him ride, and then when he got killed, that was tragic. I mean, it wasn't on TV or anything, or well, I don't think. At least it wasn't back here. Shelley said she was, I don't know what
9 years old.
I spent a summer with my grandparents. Oh.
So about a decade ago.
Yeah. That's cool, Shelley. There's a couple of small rodeos out here in the country that I didn't know existed until I started working and driving around a lot in the counties. And I don't know how big of crowds they draw. I've always meant to go to a couple of them just to see. She said, 1981, Mark. She corrected you how far back. Well, that's just 10 or 12 years. Shelley said, I thought I loved horses before I went there. Woo, they were everywhere. Yeah, they sure are.
Yeah, there's a big outfitter that lives in Pavilion that rents horses. And that guy's got hundreds of horses.
Where she was talking about being?
Yeah, in Pavilion. And then that's right there. That's the Wind River Indian Reservation kind of wraps around Pavilion, and there's plenty of horses on the res.
So that's north of you.
Northeast, yeah.
Northeast, yeah.
You got to go across South Pass, come all to Popo Aggie.
Yeah.
It's over in that country. Clear on the other side of the divide.
Because you can't imagine them taking white women across them mountains.
Nope.
Another rare and odd movie that nobody here might have seen.
Look at that. Is that Whoopah?
I don't know, but that
looks like Jose Vitor Leme on Whoopah.
Oh, it does, doesn't it?
That bull is 4 feet in the air on the front end.
The back legs are over the chute.
The back legs are probably 7 or 8 feet in the air. Now that's an athlete.
That's strong. I'm telling you, that bull weighs 2,000 pounds, close to it. And look at, he is way up in the air.
He was the bucking bull of the year 2 years ago.
Who
And
did they
he's
have the other night it was last night. I think Stetson rode not Whoopah, but one of his contemporaries that he is usually competing against in that for that award.
riding solo. But he wasn't there last night.
No, but it was one of the bulls that rode in the PBR finals last year.
Yeah.
I can't remember his name now. But and these bulls are and they are bulls, and they do breed these bulls, and I believe that when they tell me they don't use steroids or anything like that to build these bulls, it's all breeding and it's selective breeding, and they get these muscular, massive bulls that can do this, and then that bull will be turned out in the pen, and his daughter may walk out there and feed it out of her hand or pet it. I've even seen a couple of these bulls that are rank as hell in the pen in a ring, but I've seen kids sitting on them, just riding them around. They have
know when they're on.
Yeah, they know when they're on stage, and they know when they're supposed to do their thing. And and I would say most of them are just like other animals. They love it.
It used to be that, like, they had really mean, bad bulls that would hurt you when you got on the ground and hunt you down. And
Yeah,
there's so much less of that now. The bull quality for bucking is so much better, and their willingness to hunt you down and hook you on the ground is so much less.
yeah. Once they're done, they're ready to hit the chute and go out and
just like go out the out gate and go back and get some grain.
get some grain. Yeah, exactly. It's amazing. And once these bulls are retired, they have a long, healthy, easy life. As long as they live, as long as they live. And like he said,
deep in the grass.
Yeah. Like he said, I don't know. Does Burger on that bull? I can't remember.
Did he have this bull?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Whoopah? No, Whoopah was
or not.
I think he's got a new owner actually. He's living in Oklahoma now.
Oh, okay.
And then riding solo is Cord McCoy's bull.
Oh, okay.
Little red-headed Cord McCoy.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
My mama's favorite bull rider.
Yeah, I used to like him too.
He's just such a nice guy.
He always had a big smile on his face.
Yep.
And if any of you were ever a fan of the Amazing Race, he and his brother ran that twice. They ran it the first time and came in second. Nobody thought they'd even get near that far. Two cowboys off in the world, in strange lands that they didn't even know existed hardly. And but because they did so well, they got invited back to another event where there were people who finished second, and they didn't get quite as far that time. But
it was fun watching them, though.
His brother's name is Jet, and I don't know if he ever rode or not. And I don't know.
Yeah, he was a rodeo cowboy too. Yep.
But they were fun, and I don't think I've ever seen him without a smile on his face. I mean,
he about got killed in Oklahoma City. Got hit bad, kicked bad by a horse. He was a really good bronc rider, or maybe he was on barebacks. I don't know, but he got kicked in the head real bad, and they thought he was going to die, that day, and they took him to some surgeons there in Oklahoma City and fixed him up, and he came out of that and had a successful PBR career, and kind of middle of the road kind of a guy, but he won a lot of money.
And then he went on to, be a contractor, stock contractor.
Raise his bucking bulls. I think he was doing that even from clear back when he was a kid, but he's a fun guy to watch.
And these pictures on the end here, I believe both of these, I'm not sure about the top one, but the bottom is a younger guy on a smaller bull, but probably high school or maybe college. But he's actually a pretty young guy riding that horse. I'm pretty sure they said that was a high school rodeo. And this guy over here on this black and white bull on this side is getting ready. He's landing on his head, which is never a good thing. And that brings up another point. You see all these guys, these younger guys that have come up from through the high school and college ranks wear a helmet. And I don't know if and this guy's got a cowboy hat on. This guy's got a cowboy hat on.
So if you were born after 90 or on or after 1994, it's mandatory to wear a helmet.
Oh, really? After 90?
So the guys that were born before 94 that may have grown up riding in a cowboy hat, they can still do that. Because it just changes the whole dynamic of, the weight of your head and all that. And,
well, yeah.
And they've kind of found out that on those guys that probably grew up wearing cowboy hats, that it causes more issues wearing a helmet than not wearing a helmet. When they switch.
Yeah.
Guys like JB Mooney don't wear a helmet. He wore one for 1 year, I think, and then he was
ride a bull with it on. He went back
right.
to that, and he was great again. Mike, if you're still here, bye, buddy, and I'll see you Thursday. And Shelley said something else too. The Amazing Race. No, not the Iditarod. The one that's on TV, and you may not see it, but it's came out about the same time Survivor started. And I've never watched Survivor in my life, but we did watch a few Amazing Races. And when I found out Cord McCoy, because I knew him from bull riding, was going to run with his brother, I watched his. They travel all over the world for a couple of weeks, and then they, every day they have different challenges. And some of them make it, some of them get cut out. And the last three couples, or, teams, end up trying to finish the final, and the winner gets $1 million. Hey, John, welcome back. So, it was, so they were just a lot of fun. They were good guys.
They have deals they have to do. They got let's go to Indonesia, and we got to cook some hoo-hoo grubs or something,
Exactly. Or they got to eat a couple, or
it's like they had tasks that they had to complete,
or they have to do
and it was fun to watch two Okies in cowboy hats doing that.
Yes, it was, and that's why I think a lot of people took them. I think a lot of people thought they were just going to be gone because that's what they were.
Yeah.
Two Okies.
But they were really good at traveling.
Yeah. Well, they do that a lot.
If you're like a rodeo cowboy, you got to be really, really good at traveling. And so that never bothered them. They could sleep on airplanes or whatever, and some people just couldn't do it.
Shelley, you've seen the Iditarod as well? Or did you race in the Iditarod? Because you're right, it is an amazing race. And I've always wanted to see some of that, at least people working dog teams like that. And one of my favorite movies was
Snow Dogs.
Well, I haven't watched that one yet, but
that's a funny one, but
yeah, it is. Iron Will was the one. I really liked that movie, and he was racing his father's dogs. Anyway, that's supposed to be a true story, or based on truth, and it was like an Iditarod race, only it wasn't called that. It was something in the Minnesota Canadian area in Minnesota where the dude can do that sort of thing, or used to be able to. I don't know if they've got snow anymore.
We have a big one here every year that comes. They race from, I think they start out in Jackson Hole and they end up down here south of Kimmer or somewhere.
Huh.
Big dog teams. What's that?
How many miles is that? Or that take a couple?
A couple hundred.
So it takes them a couple of days to do it.
Oh yeah. They've got, they might stop 3 times on that race, I think. So yeah, it's a long way.
Which is another thing about, I'm sure that certain people wouldn't like that either because you're working. You're running those dogs to death, and that's not true either.
And those dogs, if they don't do that, just waste away.
They love to run.
It's like a bird dog not being allowed to be a bird dog.
Yeah,
Just not right.
well, look what happened to poodles. They quit hunting those guys. They just turned into poodles.
Yeah.
And I got a couple more. This guy here on the right, that's going to be a bad wreck, is what that's about to be. That bull is plumb over on his nose.
Yeah, he was going to get a rewrite out of that if it didn't kill him.
Yeah, he should have. And here's the Frontier Rodeo Day, daddy of them all, it says on the gate. And that's another thing. If you watch a lot of these rodeos, they have their own personalities and they do different things. But one of the things you see is like here at Frontier Days, they got white gates, red fencing. At the NFR, all the gates and fences are yellow.
Yellow bucking chutes.
Yellow bucking chutes. And then there's one in Texas. I don't know if it's the stockyards. There's an arena they run in Texas as part of the American. It's where they run like prelims.
Yeah, that's at Fort Worth there at the stockyards.
I think they've got the blue gates.
Yeah, maybe.
Or maybe they're white, but there is a rodeo and an event where they've got all blue stuff. Still all but it's
and
different.
Some of them are indoors and some of them are outdoors. Like Frontier Days is outside.
Yeah,
and it's fun to watch it in the mud.
I think at least 2 of these are from our Frontier Days. That the left 2, I'm pretty sure that's where
that looks like.
It looks like down there.
But it's like invariably like 1 or 2 nights at Frontier Days, it's going to rain bad or tornado or something. And it's interesting to watch these guys riding them when it's really, really, really muddy.
Yeah, and it always seems to puddle up right outside the chute.
Right outside the chute. Big old mud hole.
And here's right here. This is an ode to some of the biggest heroes in rodeo. These are the bullfighters. Really, what they are in this scenario is cowboy savers, because these guys literally put their life on the line to keep these bulls off the cowboys. And that started, like Mark was saying, when the bulls were a lot meaner and they actually went after them. I've seen bulls go after the cowboy. They literally hone in on him and do their best to get to him and hook him.
And there might be 3 bullfighters out there and 1 cowboy, and that bull will say, that's the guy that was on my back, and I'm going to make him pay. And he'd be down on his hands and knees or something, and these guys just jump between the bull. They'll shoot the gap, they call it. They'll jump between the bull and the cowboy and take that hit. And I saw, last night, both of us saw Cody Webster take 2 hits that sent him flying.
Oh, last night?
Yeah, last night.
Yeah, he did. He took 2 shots right in the runt. But if you looked at him, the bull threw him, but he was prepared for it.
Yeah, because that's what he does for a living.
Yeah. Hang on a minute. I want to catch up with you.
And he is the world champion bullfighter.
Yes.
Again.
Tina said when they went on their Alaskan cruise, they did an excursion to meet sled dogs. We met several that had been in the Iditarod. They have to tie them to a tree to keep them from running. Yeah, and I've seen them react when you go out to feed them or just go outside. They're ready to run. Those dogs will see them getting the sleds out or the rigging out, and they're ready to go. I mean, they love to run. And like Mark said, when they don't get to run, they just kind of waste away. And Shelley says she didn't know about her grandpa's younger life, but he was bow-legged, always wore denim cowboy boots and a hat. He was the fire chief in Pavilion. I'd say if he was from Pavilion, Wyoming, he was probably an old cowboy. Be my guess.
And a cool guy.
Probably an old guy. Like Mark is not truly a cowboy, but he does cowboy stuff. I mean, he actually works with some local ranchers there to help them do roundups and things like that. And so he gets out and works on the back of his horse.
I've never been paid to be a cowhand, but I've been given 3 or 4 whole beefs
From that. That's pretty good heck. From helping.
Yeah.
That's
like, hey, we're gonna butcher steers tomorrow. You like come up and pick you one out. And my son, I don't do those big long rides like I used to, but my son's still doing it, and he's got a whole beef in the freezer right now. He just got so.
That's a pretty good exchange for I don't know how much he's doing. I started saying for a couple of days work, but
no, it was always way more than a couple of days, but.
Let's see here. She's still talking about the dogs. That the guys running the excursion do not be in their way if they aren't tied to the tree. They will run you down. That's pretty funny.
Come here, Newt. I'm
not sure what Tina and Shelley are swapping back and forth, but Tina says she wants all of them, whatever it is. So anyway, these are the rodeo cowboy, what is always been called the clowns, but they are still dressed that way in many cases. Although look at his knees and stuff, they're padded up now. But they started out more dressed as clowns, and some rodeos still have a guy in a barrel. I don't know if they've got a barrel at the NFR, but I don't know if there's a barrel guy in it.
Yeah, old John, what's his bucket?
John Harris or Harrison?
John Harris, just Harrison. Quit, Nope.
But you don't really ever see him at this rodeo on TV much.
No, they're not. So at the NFR, there's a barrel man. He's in the barrel, but he's not allowed out of the barrel.
Which is about mid arena, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so they can't get out and slow down they don't do the funny ha-ha stuff as much as they do at other rodeos. Quit, Nuke.
Yeah, you've usually got 3 bullfighters and 1 clown at rodeos these days. Not always, but 3 is kind of most of these guys have developed a system with 3 guys. 3. And the barrel man does sometimes get involved at some rodeos, but a lot of times they're the entertainment for the show between events and stuff. Yeah, speaking of dogs, that's probably Mark's son-in-law's dog or son's dog.
Yeah, that'd be Newt. He's standing beside me and he's wanting attention, and he's a little off his rocker, so he's a special needs kind of a dog, and he's a good boy, but he gets a little spastic. He gets hemp pills when he comes to my house.
Oh,
calming pills.
Do they help him?
Yeah, it does.
Oh, I need some to give. We're getting our grand dog sometime today.
We used to we had a vest we tied around him that kind of hugged him.
Yeah, like a thunder. Yeah.
Yeah, and that helped him a bit, and then he got to where he figured out how to. Like I said, he's a little bit off, but he's pretty smart about certain things, and he could figure he could go out there in the yard and lay down on his back and kind of push himself along and get that thing the Velcro to pop off.
Oh, geez.
And then he didn't have to wear it anymore, or it was just hanging around his neck. And he's interesting dog. He's a Chesapeake, and
Yeah.
when my son brought him home, I'm like, you picked the wrong puppy, because his head was quite a bit misshapen, and he's just been kind of and he licks my floor. So yeah. Anyway,
So here's some of those very cowboys that Mark's talking about. Here's Webster, and this guy's name is Dusty Tuckness. Well, if I'm saying it right.
they're the two best in the business. Dusty's from Meeteetse, Wyoming,
Oh, okay.
and
Cody, Cody from
Webb lives in Oklahoma, and so they're the two. So at Frontier Days, there's only two of them, and then they've got a guy in the barrel, and so the Webster and Tuckness work together, and man, they're just masters at working bulls. But last year, Tuckness got his leg broke bad at the NFR.
Yeah, I remember that. And up here you can see a guy using a barrel. I don't know if there's anybody in it, but the bulls sometimes will. In fact, sometimes part of the entertainment is getting the bulls to flip a barrel or roll a barrel with his head or something. And they do that. And you can see this picture down in the lower right is probably a bullfighter doing his thing. They compete against each other, not only in the arena where they're voted on by the cowboys, but they also have contests where they compete and show their stuff.
Yeah, so they do cowboy protection is what they call the stuff where they're saving the riders. And then they do these bullfights, which are not like bullfights in Mexico. They're not spearing a bull or stabbing him with a sword or any of that crap. But
no, they're just basically getting him to play a game of touch. Only he touches hard. They jump over him. I've seen them completely jump over a bull.
Flip them. There's a. I think he's probably African American / Native American that is out of Oklahoma. That I've seen him at a few events now, a few PBR events, but that guy can like flip over him, like run right at him and then just do like a forward flip and land behind the bull. It's cool. He's an athletic devil.
If you look in that lower left hand, you can kind of see. That looks like that. That's not Stetson, is it? Wrong color, I think.
That's it looks like Shorty Gorham getting ready to jump in there and
that does. I'm talking about the guy on the ground, the rider, but
I think this was a PBR.
If you look, that bull, whether he goes after him or not, might be up to these guys, but if you look at him, you can see he is looking right at the guy on the ground. He knows that that's the guy that was on his back.
So Shorty Gorham, the bullfighter, I think that's Shorty.
Well, I thought it looked like him too, but I wasn't sure.
He's reaching in and grabbing that bull by the head, basically.
Yeah.
He's just reaching in there and distracting him like, hey, I'm a better target. Come after me.
They'll grab their horns and pull their head around and get their attention focused on them so the cowboy can get up and run to the fence or get out of the arena. And they really put themselves on the line for these guys. And but it's like a lot of other things. Now it's professional. So they really train and stay in shape, and you can't do all that stuff and if you're not. I mean,
but like Rob Smets had his neck broken like 2 or 3 times, and I mean these guys take a real beating,
And then I was going to say it's not just for guys anymore. There are women events now. There's a Women's Professional Rodeo Association, and they had their NFR or whatever they call it, their finals of the year this week also, I believe. I think it's over, but there may be more next week.
Did they already do they've added breakaway roping, which is you've got your rope tied to your horn of your saddle, and you rope the calf or whatever, and then
That's what this gal's getting ready to do right
and
here.
then and then it snaps away, and you get that's when the flag gets dropped, and the score is created, and I think they did that. I think they finished up the night before
Yeah,
the
they may.
NFR started.
Yeah, they may have because it was. I know they. I was pretty sure they started it before, and I think you're right. I think they actually finished up, right before the NFR started. But that's an event that they're talking about bringing to the NFR
Right.
and adding it so the women can do that. And it's they got to rope the calf. That's the main thing, and then but they don't have to get off the horse and chase it down.
Right. As soon as that calf hits the end of the rope, it breaks away from the horn.
Yeah, and it's over.
And that's when your time gets calculated. But it's a pretty cool event.
I didn't save this picture for this reason, but here's another unsung hero. See this guy kneeling right here on the upper right picture in that yellow buck and chute? That guy is in the chute with the calves, and he is in there to try to keep the calf standing up, keep him focused, and push him if he has to out the gate. And that guy is like an unsung hero. He probably gets shat on more than any other cowboy out there because it takes a lot to basically be pushing the backside of a calf. That's just as liable to squirt on you as he is not to. But you don't hear much about that guy. They actually had him out at the NFR one year. They interviewed him, or the guy that was doing it that year, but I think he may still be doing it. And this event up at the top left is, a cowgirl riding a horse, and this is back from many years ago. I think looks like Cheyenne.
Yeah, they used to do a lot of women's bronc riding, and they've done some. They still have. There's only, I think, 15 to 20 of them competing nationally, but there's women's bull riding as well. So the girls get to, if they choose to do so, which, riding bulls and bucking horses is nuts. And believe me, I'm crazy, so I know. But it's
Welcome in, Dawn. She's talking about the Houston rodeo, which is a big deal.
That's a beautiful rodeo. They do a really good job.
Shelley says, Mama, oops. I went backwards. That's okay.
Oh, went to the prison rodeos in Texas.
Yeah.
Which is like.
Do that. Don't they also do that in Louisiana? I think Angora prison, which is
Angola.
Really place, I think they do. Or Angola, yeah.
They
do a rodeo there too.
And hopefully Richard Pryor shows up at all of them so he can the stir crazy.
I'm afraid both those guys are dead now.
That was a great movie.
Richard Pryor and wasn't he in that with the guy that married
the guy that played Willy Wonka?
Yeah, him. I can't think of his name. So, Dawn, do you guys go to the Houston rodeo? Have you been multiple times or once? Or during COVID, there was a lot more going on down there. Of course, they were more wide open, and some of the rodeos did take place down there. That's where I saw the stockyard rodeos, and the Cowboy Channel was showing them. So
the NFR went there.
Yeah, that's right. What I was going to say. They were there. And the American was down there.
Which the American's always there.
Yeah, it's always down there. In fact, the finals for the American are in the Cowboys Stadium.
But that's such a huge arena that they've got down there at the stockyards. It's compared to every other venue, it's like huge. That But I think the PBR finals is going to be there from now on. The regular, they're going to do the normal season stuff. It'll be in May, and then the team stuff happens in Las Vegas. The new teams, PBR teams series.
Oh, Don's ridden some barrel races, play days at some of the local rodeos. Well, that's cool. You missed the conversation about that. Mark's sister and one of his nieces does that now. But his sister used to do it a lot. And let's see, here's what they're all shooting for, besides the money, are these buckles, this gold buckle. This one up here, it was really hard for me to find actual pictures of the buckles that were awarded to the individual rodeo riders, but that top one up there in the middle is the 2009 world champion all-around cowboy, which was Trevor Brazil.
Trevor Brazil, that's the guy we were trying to think of.
Yeah, and this is his, and then
26 times.
Yeah, 26 times. And he won the all-around, I think 12 times.
Yeah.
But he won 26 championship rodeo events. And this was, his name's not on this yet. Once they award them, then they take the Montana Silversmiths does virtually all of these. And these are gold and silver. They're the real thing. They take them back and engrave your name and stuff on them. And this is Casey Field. And I don't know if this was last year. This might have been last year. And, they get a saddle. And here it says WNFR, which is Wrangler National Finals Rodeo, bareback riding. These saddles are made every year. They've got saddles for all the winners. And then this belt buckle that's made, and I don't know who makes the saddles. The belt buckles are all made by Montana Silversmiths.
I'd like to get that contract.
You'd have to hire some help.
I couldn't keep up, but
that's what I mean. You'd have to hire some help for that. But maybe you could get me out there and teach me how to cut leather or something.
Oh yeah, it ain't rocket science.
And this and here's another thing. That upper buckle in the middle and the one that Casey's holding are championship buckles, the all-around and the event championship. This buckle down here for the whole rodeo, for the whole time they're there. He was the best in after 10 events. This bottom buckle was actually in 2014 was the 4th go-round buckle. So for saddle block riding. So there's 10 of those. They give out one of those a day for each event. So, if a guy's riding really well, he may walk home with 4 or 5 of those things before it's over with. And if he's done good enough, then he gets this big one up here. So, this is kind of what they're all shooting for. But nowadays, there's a lot of money. I think I've got a slide about that just in a second, because I did some math the other night about that on that. And these are some wrecks I just threw in this morning. This guy's got his head in a very bad place, as you can see. And here's a kid underneath.
Mutton busting.
Yeah, mutton busting. I've got a couple pictures of here in a minute. But that's a kid event, and he's rolled plumb around to the belly. The sheep just hops over them and goes on. They don't really hurt them, but some of the kids get up crying, but a lot of them get up and dust themselves off and go right on along. This bull rider over here, I may have shown this already. He's getting ready to land head down. That's a wreck. And basically, anybody coming off of an animal and getting tangled up, and that's referred to as a wreck a lot of times in cowboy lingo. But,
so he's going out the rumble seat there.
Yeah, he's going to be ejected, or already is.
That you were talking earlier about those, the saddle bronc and the bareback guys. You got to lift and stay back and lean back, And on bulls, you got to like lift and stay forward.
Right.
Because the back end is a bad place to be.
Because if you end up sliding back there in the right part of the jump, he will launch you.
You're getting ready to go far, far away, usually backwards.
Yeah. But you're going to go flying. I saw somebody come off the back end the other night on something. Or maybe
Yeah,
on video.
it was either last night or the night before.
Yeah, somebody got launched. I can't remember who it was.
It was like 15 feet. He went flying.
So, and there's something about a little bit about the money. Now, this is just my math from what they showed on the screen the other night. I'm going to clarify this because there's other monies coming into these guys. There's contingency money, there's sponsorship money. So there's even more money than this. But each night there are 7 go rounds of all the events, and they pay out this much per go round for 6 people per go round. And then you add all that up, that's $972,000. That's almost $1 million right there per go round. So, if you add that up over 7 days or 10 days, that's over $15 million time they're done. And that's just for the NFR. Most rodeos they don't pay nearly that much, but some of these guys that are at the top of the field are making $70,000 to $150,000 or more. Well, hell, Stetson has made something like
300, I think.
300,000 coming in. So I mean, he can't be beat this year, I don't think. But he came in with $300,000.
Right.
That's a lot of. Rodeo cowboys used to not make anywhere near that amount of money. And here's something the kids can do. This is called mutton busting, as we just said. And, this young lady's got on a vest and a helmet. And since and her shafts are all pink, I'm guessing she's outfitted just to do this. And she's riding the traditional fashion where they just lay down and hang on. And this guy's trying to set up, or he's coming off. I'm not sure which. And a few guys I've seen go backwards like this. So I'm not sure how, if they just put them on that way to see what happens, or if they really wanted to go backwards. I'm not sure.
You see a lot of kids mutton busting their backwards. I never have figured that out, but
I didn't either. And it's something I don't have on here that I didn't take time to find a picture of. Is when they do like. I know at the Texas rodeos, like Houston, well, I don't know about Houston for sure, but I know they do it at the stockyards and those rodeos. They have more events like this, and they do one that is for scholarship money.
The calf scramble.
That's it, the calf scramble. And they basically got these kids in the middle of the arena in a box. They line out a box in the middle of the arena. And they turn a bunch of calves loose in the arena, and each kid, they all run out at once. And each kid basically has got to catch a calf and make a halter out of a piece of rope, which I used to know how to do, but it's been a long, long time. But you can do that, wrap it around their ear, get it just right, and then you can lead them, and they've got to get that calf inside that box in the middle of the ring. And if they do that, then they win a scholarship. And they do that for, I can't remember how many kids per rodeo they were doing, but it was several kids. The first 5 or 6 or 10 that got into the square with their calves would get, a scholarship. But they do that every day of the rodeo. And some of those rodeos were 2 weeks long, or, for qualifying and getting into the event and that sort of stuff. So, some of those kids were getting a little bit of money to go to school on.
Yeah, and they're all like, most of them are FFA kids, and I don't remember if I was watching Austin or San Antonio or one of those. Every kid that successfully drug a calf back got the scholarship money. and there was like 30 kids running around out there, and even the kids that were having a hard time, some committee guy would go over and give them a hand, and
Yeah.
they gave away. Every one of those kids got money.
Yeah, I was thinking they gave them $1,000 or $1,500. So
Yeah,
it's it's not going to pay for everything going to school, but it pays for a lot.
right.
And what's they talking about here on side? Let me catch up with Don and Shelly and John. Love barrel racing. I saw that John's got something. Oh, he's coming back.
To let the dogs out.
Who? Dawn says she's got a couple of Montana Silversmith buckles.
Not awards.
But that's the other thing I was going to say when I was trying to look up actual event buckles so I can show the real things. What I found a lot of was not duplicates. The ones like you're talking about, Don, that are made that look like the buckles, but aren't quite as filled out. They obviously don't have somebody's name on them, but you can buy those kind of duplicate buckles or imitation championship buckles, which are beautiful and made, probably depending on how much you want to spend, made just like the championship buckles in some cases, but they're really pretty buckles and they look like the real thing and they're well done. Montana Silversmith does a great job with that stuff. You talking about, Don, you talking about barrel racing is dangerous or the whole rodeo concept? Okay, I just got a couple more slides here I want to hit.
So there's two ends of the arena. I think she was talking about the rough stock end of the arena. So you got one end of the arena that's got buck and shoots where everything that bucks comes out of, and then the other end of the arena is called the timed events end, where all the calf roping and team roping, etc., comes out.
And Cheyenne's a little different, doesn't it? Have like shoots down the side, and then come in off the end or something.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a big oval, but the buck and shoots are on like one side of the oval. They're not, and then the timies come off one of the ends.
Okay, and this is some of the black cowboys that I found pictures of. I've already shown you this one in the corner. That's a more contemporary shot. But these guys up here were all actual authentic cowboys. May or may not have been in rodeo, but they certainly did exist. The first black contestant that I remember was
Charlie Sampson.
And he was a bull rider, and I used to root for him all the time.
He got his ear ripped off.
Yeah. And because he was sort of the only guy there. I mean, he was the only black bull rider at that time. And
that's kind of an interesting deal. He was from L.A.
Yeah, he was a city guy.
He was a city guy that wanted to be a bull rider. And now that there's a bunch of cowboys in Los Angeles and in Compton.
Yes, they are.
And they call it the Compton Cowboys, and that it's a way to keep young men busy and out of gang life, and it's a real successful program. And they ride horses through the streets of Compton, and they got bucking events, and I don't know if I've never seen anything on what they provide for young ladies, but they sure do a lot for young men.
Yeah, I've seen them several times now on different TV specials about the whole thing.
That's a pretty cool deal.
Yeah, it is.
It's kept a lot of young men out of trouble and gave them something positive to do, and kept them out of trouble with other humans. They occasionally have some livestock issues,
but anyway, black cowboys used to not be. I read an interesting story about this. And it's, to me, it's a shameful thing, part of our history. But they talked about the black cowboys on the trail and working the ranches with the white cowboys, and they said basically there was no segregation. They were all out there together. They all worked together. Some of them bunked together, and some of them even slept together when they had to get, two in a bunk or something.
Right.
They said there was no divide, but if they went into town, then suddenly there was a split. They had to act a certain way and follow the local rules for African Americans, and it had a lot to do with white women. Believe it or not, no offense, ladies, but that's what the article was saying, that because that was such a taboo issue. I guess, I mean, it's like Emmett Smith. He said something or whistled or maybe didn't do anything but look at a woman in Mississippi, and he got brutally beaten to death. I guess these guys had, even in the West, they had to be aware of that, which I thought was a shame, because when they were cowboying, they were just like every other cowboy. And I've seen that and heard that. In fact, if you've ever seen the special on it, a lot of people think that the original Lone Ranger, the actual person that the Lone Ranger was
Bass,
and he was black.
Yep.
He was a hell of a sheriff out there for quite a while, and he even locked up his own son eventually for getting in on a bank robbery, I believe. And but they think he was the model for the Lone Ranger, but you don't ever hear that, or you didn't used to hear it. Now it's kind of a known thing, but it's just part of our history, I guess. I don't know. We can't.
Not a good part, though.
No, it's not. None of it is. But
we just have to keep getting smarter.
Just have to keep getting better about shit like that.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. And that was all I had. Well, I think that's all I had. I might have had something after this, but I was looking for a poem, but most poems and things were really too long, most of them. And I found this one. It said, "Don't sell your saddle. Don't give up on dreams. Take time to see them through. There are no easy trails. Hard work makes dreams come true. You'll make it through tough times. Friends will stick like glue. Don't ever sell your saddle. Dreams won't give up on you." So, I don't want to sell my saddle, but, well, I don't have a saddle. Well, I've got a motorcycle saddle, but, that means something to me, because I'm trying to get back on that path, and it's not always easy to not sell your saddle. But anyway, let's see if I don't think I've got anything else. No, that's it. So let me get out of there. Close this. And now I can see things again. Carol's got to go. Thanks, Tim and Mark. Everyone have a wonderful day. Thank you, Carol. Always appreciate you being here. And thanks for helping out earlier on the spam bots. Man, I've got dry cotton mouth today. They drink something else to make me dry. So it is, oh my God, it's 12:40. No wonder I can't talk. I'm going to set an alarm. So it's time to get ready to go, guys. I appreciate you being here, everybody who's still with us, and, putting up with one of our common interests, or whatever you want to call it. Over the years, we've kind of learned that we were both followed things like rodeo before we ever knew each other. I've followed NFR since I was a kid, and used to look forward to it being on, even when they only showed a couple of hours of it all pasted together. But it was still.
Now you can watch it 24/7 if you get the Cowboy Channel.
Yeah, you can. And you can get all the NFR, and you can get all the events, and you can record them on your DVR and watch them all summer. Usually what I do. I bought the tape. They sell a tape, or not a tape, a disc of all the events and of the NFR. And I got that one time, and I realized I didn't enjoy. I mean, it was good. It showed all the events and everything, but there wasn't any commentary with it. So I realized I kind of missed that because I didn't always know who was doing what, and because they didn't, it wasn't identified as well. If you didn't happen to have a program, I guess. Ride 'em Cowboy. I should have put up Happy Trails to you, but I'll just say it as Roy and Dale always sing. So happy trails, everybody, until we meet again.
And it's a positive day. It's above 0 now here.
All right.
It's 2 degrees.
There we go. We're getting there. The IG I sent you was a thank you letter from Frontier Days. Oh, was it? I didn't read. Hang on just 1 minute. Dear Airman, oh, wow. It's got your name on it and everything.
That's cool.
Let me see if I can show that. Hang on. Bear with me just a moment, John. I'm glad you mentioned that because I got to yakking and I forgot it. But let's look at it here for a minute before we go. There it is. I don't know if we can see it. Maybe I can zoom in. What did I do?
Balderdash.
Balderdash is right. What did I do?
Perfect
There
news.
it is. As 1982 begins, we want to again express our sincere appreciation for the service you rendered during the 85th annual celebration. Well, that's cool, John. As you are constantly aware, the success of Frontier Days hinges on a continued involvement of persons such as yourself who give so willingly of their time and energy. It was through efforts of people such as yourself, the more than 120 volunteers, that were able to successfully park a record number of vehicles at this year's Frontier Day. Boy, I've got a funny story about parking. Please accept our appreciation and let us express our desire for a continuing relationship such as we have experienced in the past. We hope your schedule will allow you to work again this year. Signed by James D. McCracken and Mike Lane. Well, that's cool, John.
That is cool.
I'd love to have something like that. I'd probably have it framed on my wall. That's really neat. Which means I got to tell one last quick story before I go. If anybody's still here, maybe it's just me and you. When they released, they have released elk back here now. A few years ago, they released them in the Smokies, which they've been very successful, and they released some in Kentucky, and then they decided to release some up here on one of the largest wildlife refuges we've got north of Knoxville. And they called me and Steve. We went to some meetings about it, and Steve Cottrell, my mentor at TVA, said, we got a call. They want us to come out and help do the elk release. So we were all excited, oh, damn, I wanted to go up there because I wanted to see them turn them loose. And so we're thinking we're going to be down there, kicking them out of the back of the bus or the van or, we're going to be involved.
You're going to lift the lid and let them out.
Yeah, but no, that's not what we did. We had to park cars, which was okay. Don't get me wrong. But what was interesting about it was that day turned out to be a huge snow event here. But it was already planned that Senator Howard Baker was going to be there and all kinds of stuff like that. And
He's still about?
I think he's still alive, yeah.
Huh.
He got into photography after he retired, and that's really why he was there, but he was still the honored guest, I think. So we went, and the snow was terrible. We were in a four-wheel drive truck, so we didn't have any problem, but a lot of the people were in cars, and because the road normally was good enough for cars. But man, did we have a hard time parking all those people in the snow. And we looked, Steve came up to me, he said, well, I got you into this. He said, I didn't realize you were just going to be parking cars. He said, I thought we were going to be down there running elk out. Well, we still got to see them release them, though, and it was pretty cool. But so that was my parking story. But it's still fun. I mean, we had a great time. It was just, we thought we were going to be, real biologists and get out there and, do real stuff. So we figured out boat dock biologists, they didn't take us seriously, I guess.
So did you get my grandson's birthday announcement?
Was that with the antler?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. I think that was on my phone, wasn't it?
Huh?
Was that email or my phone?
It was on your phone.
Well, I'll get that.
It's right there.
Oh, there it is. Yeah. I like that established part.
It was established in 2021.
Construction might have been started in 2020. That's pretty cool. If I was a kid, of course, he won't know what it is, but when I grew up, that'd be pretty special.
I carved that. The son wanted this made for him, and I was going to wood burn it into that antler, and I decided to just carve it in instead. So
cool.
Carved it in and painted the carving, and yeah. Anyway.
All right, brother. You take care.
All right.
Everybody else, thanks for coming in. Hope to see you this week.
See everybody later on.
See you later on. Talk to you. Enjoy the rodeo today.
Indeed.
I gotta go watch the buckle ceremony from last night since I didn't get to. So,
I gotta watch Flint in the can or outside the barrel.
Oh, yeah, I gotta do that too.
All right,
everybody. Good Lord's willing, and the creek don't rise. We'll be back here again next Saturday morning and have some coffee together. Love you guys. See y'all. Bye-bye.